Easy mode is because I am going to put Sim Settlements 2 in what's called automated mode, where almost all of the management is handled for you, and you just get to focus on making things look pretty and doing story stuff. I want everybody who stumbles across my channel or is looking for information before they play SS2 to have access to like a pretty small playlist of like, here's how you can play it if you're nervous about adding more gameplay mechanics. Like if you just want kind of a simple experience, or for folks who just like, you know, they like the story of SS2 but have no interest in, you know, having a management sim on top of Fallout 4, then they'll at least be able to quickly see how to do that, because I don't think it's, until you get the holotape, it's not intuitive. So if you were to just like judge the mod based on what you see I'm putting out there in content, it does look like the mod is excessively complex for somebody who just wants story stuff.
Right.
This playthrough is virtually with no mods. This is a playthrough where we're using, there's a link in the description for my mod list. It's basically, I'm running a few F4SE mods like Place Anywhere and something called Better Console, which lets me click on things. And I'm running Buff Out so that I don't have crashes from random Todd things. And then we've got Workshop Framework, HUD Framework, SS2, Chapter 2 Extended, SS2 Extended, and Rise of the Commonwealth City Plan Pack, and that's it. And I might add some add-on packs to get some more variety in my building plans when we get going a little bit, but for now I'm just running the bare minimum. Welcome, guys. So this is my second playthrough of Sim Settlements 2 on camera here. And with the first one, I basically played with 90% of the default options that you get when you were just playing without messing with any settings. So if you just boot up SS2 right now, and you're playing in, say, normal difficulty or anything less than survival and above easy, you're going to get a certain set of options for SS2. And those are the options that I thought most folks would enjoy if they are attracted by something called Sim Settlements. Like if you like a game with the word sim in the title, probably are going to like the default options. But SS2 has a lot more options that let you kind of granularly control things, but we created 3 profiles in total. One we call the City Builder, which is the average results that I expect most folks to get. Then there's Hardcore, which is enabled by default if you're playing on survival difficulty. And then there's Automated, which is what is enabled if you're on easy or very easy. And this is the mode that I think even some people who don't necessarily play on easy or very easy might still enjoy if they're not into management sims, but they like kind of the, like, fundamentally what SS2 is doing, which is bringing in some story to make settlement building have some purpose, and also, you know, making it so it's really quick to build pretty beautiful settlements. Like you can quickly spin up a settlement that looks pretty darn good with just city plans, or with plopping down a bunch of plots and then letting them upgrade. It's going to take away a lot of the need to manage things or micromanage things, or, you know, worry about stats. You kind of just, in automated mode, you just kind of build what you want. And it makes everything go faster. You don't have to worry as much about resource collection because there's less resources to worry about. I'll show you all those things. That's what we're going to go over at the start here. We're going to talk about some of the settings, and I'll show you guys in the holotape some of the settings that get set automatically by automated mode. And then we'll talk about some of the other settings that we can change to make it even easier. There is a way to play this mod where you're basically just worrying about the story. Because I know, because a lot of people now, because we put so much effort into our story, are just like, I want the SS2 story, but I don't really want to, you know, spend hours managing my empire of settlements. And that's fair. So I want to show you guys how to do that. So we're going to go in here and we're going to go, I'm going to right away, I'm going to get Jake to show up, because I do want to get a bunch of settlers. And he hands you the holotape, which is also want to show you guys, and I'll show you guys another spot you can grab the holotape if you don't want to deal with Jake. If you're first starting out in the mod, all of the settings are going to match your difficulty. Since I didn't change my difficulty in the menu when we started, my settings right now are going to be based on the city planner difficulty. Now I could go into the mod config here because I'm using MCM and just tinker with it, but because we're not even building with any plots yet, it doesn't really matter. So we're going to grab this, which will give us enough resources to build a recruitment beacon. I think everything, but gives us everything but steel, but we should have plenty of steel just by default. And we'll need, I think we need a little bit rubber to build a generator too. Basically, the first settlement you build a beacon in, that is where Jake will show up, and he gets set to kind of choose that as the main settlement for all the events that happen. So like whenever there's a quest that involves a settlement, he'll send you over there. The objectives will go over there. So that's what we need to pick and start with. And that'll be where I kind of do my primary build. If you try and start our quest line in something like Vault 88 or Meclair, it causes some weird issues. Like you'll have a lot of pathing issues with the characters trying to get to their destination, so things can break down. So I don't recommend doing it on an interior settlement as your first settlement. And we do have a tool. I'll show you guys in the holotape when we get it. If you chose poorly, like if you used Vault 88 and Jake appears there, there's a setting in the holotape where you can force override which settlement Jake uses as the objective point for all the quests. In every settlement, or just sometimes just outside of every settlement, there's a marker. There it is. There he is over there. That's flagged as like the spawn point where the settlers will appear and come wandering over. I actually appreciate that in some settlements it's outside the settlement. I wish they were all like that. You know, there's mods out there that move the attack markers. I'd like to see some that also move the spawn marker so that it's less likely that you see the NPC. Like in Sanctuary, there are actually 3 other markers where people that are linked to the workbench where they could appear from. One of them is like up in the hills by the vault entrance, which I think would be a great spawn point because it's very unlikely you'll see the NPCs just appear out of midair. Any of you guys who want to get to the holotape, and especially on Xbox, I know on PC you guys can just add it with MCM, but we hid a copy right here, which happens to be just out of range of Preston triggering, because one of the weirdest complaints we got all the time in SS1 was people would get mad because we made them trigger Preston's quest. And we made sure to put this here so that way people who don't want Preston's quest in their log can avoid it. So we'll go ahead and load this up just so we can get some of the easy mode stuff going. We'll take a little break from our little quest. And so as soon as you launch the holotape for the first time, whether you pick it up off the ground, whether you get it from MCM spawning or Jake hands it to you, however you get it, when you first launch it, you get this little fake install screen, and then you get prompted with this. If you're a new user, it will, I'm trying to remember, I think new user, it just leaves, I don't think it gives you the wizard. Actually, I'm going to try that because I'm curious. So let's go to new user. Yeah, profile options have been applied. So basically it assumes you don't know enough to make a determination, so it's going to leave it to match your settings. So now that you guys know that, and maybe some of you guys watching are thinking about playing them on, you haven't yet, if you want to get the easy mode and you're not playing on easy difficulty, instead say returning user and it'll give you the wizard, or you can come in here into tools and we can go to options wizard. And we get these 3 options. And basically what these do is these will set about 15 different options out of the gate that will match kind of this play style. So we're going to go with automated, which is going to basically take away most of the management and simplifies a lot of things. So you can see settlers handle their own needs, which means we don't really have to worry about food, water, defense, power, other than you still have to worry about them from the sense of the base game will take away your settlements, unless you turn that option off in Workshop Framework, which I'll show you guys how to do. So you can basically ignore all those needs and the plots will still upgrade. Everything upgrades automatically on its own, like it says, and the difficulty systems are turned off. So there's no like maintenance costs. There's no, I'm trying to think of some of the other systems that are going to get turned off. There's no operating costs. There's no diseases. So like almost everything that would add like extra layers of management difficulty all get turned off. So we're going to turn all of those off. And like obviously that doesn't matter yet because we're not into settlements, but we will be shortly. All right, then we're going to come in here. And this is another little nice tip for people who are new is if you haven't found this out, there's a whole lot of ASAM sensors in here to get you started, so that you don't, because ASAM sensors are very expensive. So if you were to try and craft them all, you would go broke very quickly. You can also buy them from many vendors, but we're going to just grab a bunch here. This is like enough that'll get you through your first many hours of play. There's so many of them here. Kinggath Crease, and I still get diseases even using the setting you just did. Interesting. Let me check that because now I'm curious. Let's go to see manager holotape options. I could use MCM for this as well, but we're just going in here because we've been talking about the holotape. Let's go to difficulty. Oh, I think disease is its own section. Disease, settler diseases, off. Okay, cool. All right, well, we'll see if we get a disease in this save, and then I'll know that it's a bug I gotta fix. And then you still have junk storage in, this is one of the, so no, now we're talking about, all right, now we can start talking about some of the settings that are happening in automated mode. So when we have the settings set to be as easy as possible. So there's still junk storage. But because you only need the one junk type, and actually let me check my complexity, because I'm seeing 4 resource types over there and I shouldn't have that. So let me check my complexity and see if that got screwed up. So there's 3 different levels of resource complexity. And on easy mode or automated mode, there's only one resource you have to deal with. It's just called scrap. And so it basically, like, everything counts the same. So you can just like use a bunch of wood or use a bunch of steel to handle all your construction costs. You can actually even turn the costs off. But I think we left that on so that players would still have a need to, no, actually you can see the costs are off even on plots by default in automated mode. So we actually don't even need to worry about that. So I can actually, this is one of the things where, when I'm talking about, I think I put it in the what is it? The forum post I did today about this playthrough, some details about it. I linked it in the description. Is that one of the things I'm going to be addressing over the next few months is smoothing out curves of things. So like smoothing out difficulty levels, you know, reassessing some of the default settings that get set on the different profiles. And so like one of the things we could do is make it so that the pop-up messages only come up if they're relevant to the profile you're playing on or to the settings you have. Because for example, junk storage is not particularly important if you have all of the costs turned off. It doesn't actually matter if you have junk, if you need, you know, you don't really need to know about junk storage. So suppressing some of those pop-ups, I think will make the mod feel less intimidating. So we're gonna go in here. I just want to check that my complexity, okay, it's not set on categories. So that's actually a mistake. So let me put that on my to-do list to fix. And this will probably go into next patch, because this is something that's been on my mind a lot lately of, you know, watching and interacting with a lot of folks during the streams and noticing that, you know, I get a lot of people saying things like, man, this seems like there's a lot you got to do. It's been on my radar of we need to make sure that we're not scaring away people who we have everything in place for them to enjoy the mod, even if they don't like city manager games. So I don't want to scare those folks off with what I'm presenting, but also what the mod's presenting. So it looks like, so we're going to switch this to simple mode. And simple mode basically means you have one resource to track. So instead of having 4, you just have 1, which makes it a lot easier. But because I have costs off, I actually don't need to worry about any. But we're going to go ahead and switch that to off. I'm going to put that on my notes while Jake's doing his thing. One of the downsides of, and maybe it's something that, again, it might be worth tinkering with for the different settings of, once you're playing on simple complexity, a lot of the industrial plot types are no longer relevant. So like things like the building materials class, or the rare materials class, the conversion class, they're completely irrelevant when you're playing on simple complexity. So it might be worth like suppressing those so those don't even trigger as unlocks, and instead just give the player the those building plans right away, like just as some more variety. Like those are the types of things I want to think about for smoothing stuff out. Like the less pop-ups for somebody who's intimidated by difficulty, like the better. One of the things that really shined a light on that was watching people do playthroughs of HQ, and they're just like, oh my god, there's so much information. And you know, once you turn off certain settings in HQ, it's like, well, those pop-ups are irrelevant now. They don't need to worry about that anymore. So I think I need to tie the pop-ups more closely to the settings people are playing with. So you have building plan costs on, plot costs are off. Yeah, so building plan costs is a tricky one. So the reason that I put that in there is because there are occasionally add-on pack authors who decide to balance their particular plans in a way that's much different than the base system. Like this happened a lot with production in SS1 because we didn't have the class level control. Add-on authors could add whatever they want as production for their plots. Like they could make an agricultural plot that produced way more than ours, or I'm sorry, our agricultural building plan. And so putting in these building plan specific settings was basically a way for you guys to say, like, if you had a bunch of add-on packs that were making the balance kind of wonky to you, where it was too important to pick certain plans, you could basically disable their specific balance changes to their plans so that their plans were forced to use the class, if that makes sense. So if you ever feel like if I had a hammer gets stuck, every time you enter an exit workshop mode, it does try and update the objectives again. So if you feel like if it's not responding, you can pop in and out of workshop mode and that'll trigger it to update. But I just realized there's another plot trying to build up, so that's where we're at with that. Are there any plans to make settler special stats increase by doing work or some other method instead of soling from stat increasing recreational plots, or am I missing something? No, the plan is to keep it just to the rec plots, because one of the things we did with SS2 is we made it so it's a third assignment type. So you don't actually have to only put them on that. So they can still have a job and benefit your settlement. Recreational is it's just pure upside to build those. Other than they put more stress on your settlement from. But if again, this is why we're playing automated mode, because you can see that it actually doesn't add any stress in this regard. For my playthrough, I'm going to be able to go crazy on the rec plots and get super settlers, and it won't cost me anything. All right, and now this is a feature that we added in SS2 that I rarely take advantage of, but I'm going to do right now, which is you can just scrap the power poles. You don't need all these. Or you can move them. This was one of those things I got so many requests for from SS1 of like a lot of people weren't happy that, especially I think for your folks who built on a grid, they thought it looked too neat to have the same power pole everywhere. So one of the requests we had was was to have be able to change out the power pole or just get rid of it. As you can see, with the start of this playthrough, things go real quick when you turn off things like costs. So the automated mode is all about kind of taking SS2 to make it feel more like SS1, where it was just about rapidly letting you build gigantic things, less worrying about thinking about numbers or balance. You can just kind of build whatever you want. You just design. You get some of the benefits of SS2, and you get the story content, and you get the different styles of building plans and everything. But you can kind of just treat it kind of more like another piece of art to build with, another like a dynamic building piece. So, you think about all the different mods you have to add new stuff to build with. This just adds objects that can transform into a bunch of different ones, especially when you install a bunch of add-on packs. And this mode has been in there from the beginning, but I don't know that everybody finds it, that you have this automated option if you don't ever load the holotape. And I think it's worth trying if you find yourself like overwhelmed with options in SS2. Try the automated mode. I think you'll find it good, and it's probably something worth playing for folks who just are looking for a playthrough that's less SS2 centric, but they still want SS2 for the story or for the for all the building options like city plans and stuff. I think the automated mode is perfect for that if you're not looking for that centric playthrough. But if you like if you like what we got already, you don't change anything. I just really wanted to show off this mode because I know I get requests often for folks who say they don't want to manage all the little options in balancing out their settlements, or who want the mod to be who want it just focused on the story instead of the settlements. And this is kind of how you can achieve that. And so I want to keep diving into this. I want to get into some of the stuff we didn't cover in the last playthrough, because obviously when we can build this quickly and I don't have to spend any time managing the settlement, everything's going to play faster. So like we'll be able to do the quests faster, we'll build up our settlements faster, we'll be able to get city plans upgraded faster, we'll be able to trigger the unique settlers faster. Like everything's going to go fast. And this is one of the reasons why I'm not totally against the HQ thing, because we will also have just like crazy amounts of resources by the time we get to HQ because of how easy it is to build, and I can just spam kind of whatever I want. All right, guys, take care and enjoy the mods.